All right, it has been a while, channel. If this is your first time tuning in, if this is your first time finding the channel, please be sure to subscribe, leave me a like, hit that notification bell, and of course, comment down below what you are watching in this video, how you feel about anything that we talk about, anything that you've seen in a past video, anything that you would want to see in a future video. I'm doing a lot of non-Pittsburgh sports related stuff on this channel. With that being said, the MLB season just around the corner. Of course, want to put out an MLB preview video and not talk all about the Pirates. That's saved for around the 412. So I am bringing on the biggest baseball fan within my friend group, John Sargeson. If you guys are familiar with the channel at all, he's been on around the 412 a couple times. Will be on with us in a few weeks for the draft show as well. And what's going on, pal?
What's up, man? Just watching my cat watch me record this.
We got okay, so live viewer, at least one. We got one live. So this is being recorded, pre-recorded. We're not doing this live like we used to do the shows. But we know that we have at least one live viewer, so that's good. Keep us on our toes.
Did you tweet out the link?
What no, because I'm not recording live. We're not doing it live. It's gonna be pre-recorded
yeah.
and then put it up on YouTube. Come on, dude.
Well, I don't know how this. I didn't know that people could be live in a video that's not live.
I don't know why it says live. Yeah. So what he is referencing, which you guys won't see because it's just for me and him. Anytime that you start recording in StreamYard, if somebody uses StreamYard that's watching this, they'll be familiar with it. It says live in the top corner, and it's not live. So that's just their way of saying right now we are recording. So
nice.
That is why it says that. Probably should have told you that before I did this. But anyway, we're learning on the fly together. But anyways, yeah, so we're going to go through the divisions and how we see fit, how we see things shaking out in each division, both in the AL and the NL, and then do some award predictions as well, and also give a breakout player. Maybe we should also do, I didn't even tell you about this, so once again, keeping you on your toes as we start recording, maybe we should also pick like a comeback player. I've seen
I thought about that too, actually.
Okay, good. Because when I was going through and doing like research for this, a lot of people were, listing some comeback players. So I think that would make sense to do as well. And then, of course, a World Series prediction. This is going to be fun to come back to, I think, throughout the year and just see like how right we were, how wrong we were. Likely for me, the latter, as is typically the case. And I can't wait to see the comments on this as well. I really hope, by the way, if you're watching this, there's a ton of people that put out like MLB preview content and talk about this type of stuff. So can't thank you enough for like choosing even to consume this type of content from the two of us, either instead of or along with the other forms of content that you are getting as the MLB season kicks off. I want to make sure that we finish with the NL Central because I said that we are going to, this is my channel to stay away from Pittsburgh sports stuff. However, we will certainly be finishing with NL Central because of the Pirates. So of course my bias is going to play in a little bit. However, we will start in the AL West where maybe your bias is going to go against a certain team on the opposite side of how I'm talking about the Pirates, with the Astros, Mariners, Rangers, Angels, and A's. How do you see this division playing out?
So I actually, to put into perspective of my bias towards this, my first place team, I wrote down the trash cans.
I like it.
Yeah. And I'm also going to apologize ahead of time. When we get to the Yankees, I'm probably just going to keep going. And I'm sorry, like I warned this. I mean, that division to me is the Astros to win until the Angels figure it out. I still doesn't make sense to me how you have the two best players in baseball. Like, spoiler alert, I think that Mike Trout is better than Aaron Judge. I don't think that should be a very hot take. But dude, Mike Trout last year missed 40 games and he still hit 40 home runs. Like,
right. Yeah.
But I don't think the Angels are that far away though. That's what's so frustrating. Is like they fought like this year. They were like, all right, we need to get hitters who are not Shohei and Trout. Like Brandon Drury is a huge get for them. He can play he can play any position. Mm-hmm. He can easily hit above a 740 OPS, I think. I mean, he has a little bit of power, but he also gets on base more. And Hunter Renfroe, the oldie version of Mike Trout, they added him, and he could easily be a 35 home run guy. So now it's like I actually have a way far in the future prediction. I think that at the trade deadline, I'm going to try to move in front of the sun. I think at the trade deadline that they are going to make a huge splash in trading for a pitcher because every year, what happens? They run out of pitching or Mike Trout gets hurt.
Yeah.
One of the two. I think Rendon has a huge bounce back year. Like I've been on record saying he should be in jail for theft because of that contract with them. Yeah. Like if he can play up to his Nationals potential, if Hunter Renfroe can hit 35, you know what Shohei and Mike Trout are going to do. They could we could finally see Shohei in the playoffs. So
I hope that we get it.
I don't know if it's a hot take to put them above the Mariners, but I do. So mine goes Astros, Angels, Mariners, Rangers, A's. The Rangers can keep spending money in my head.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't like they're in such a top heavy division that I don't know if signing DeGrom and Andrew Heaney are going to be good enough to take them into a playoff position over the Mariners, the Angels, and the Astros, and the A stink.
Yeah. I think like to look at this team by team, I think every team is chasing the Astros in that division right now. They added Jose Abreu, which, obviously given his age, I think people are going to question like how impactful is he going to be, but I still think, that's a nice bat. Obviously doesn't have to play every day, can DH, doesn't have to play the field every day. It'll be interesting to see how they use him, and also like, Jordan, not much of an outfielder, so he's DHing a lot. So how do they utilize that? But obviously, like, you don't really need to make a case for picking them to win the division. So then I think you start talking about these other teams, like I said, are chasing them. I think you do look at the Angels. I mean, Tyler Anderson, I think, is a nice get in terms of a lefty arm for that rotation. I think, honestly, the big question you brought up, obviously, Rendon, is he going to bounce back? Is he finally going to make that contract worth it this season? Really, if he helps them win one World Series in his time there, no one is going to question that contract. So if he does bounce back this year, all of a sudden the Angels make a deep push and get Ohtani and Trout where those two should be. I don't think too many people are going to be questioning that contract, even if it is just one stellar season. I think, though, the guy that I'm really questioning, I actually brought his name up to you a while ago because I was like, I didn't realize this guy had as good of a season last year. Is he going to repeat it? I think a lot of people are questioning, like, is Taylor Ward for real? Because that to me is going to be like the X factor of this Angels team. And that is why, because I don't think that it is, why I have the Mariners ahead of the Angels. And then so it's basically the same order, but I have the Mariners and Angels flipped. Because
I think that Taylor Ward could, that's it, like, if he could play really well for more than a month and a half.
Yeah.
And I don't even think they need him to play very, very well for the entire year. They just need him to play well in like September. That's because if they can win games because of people like like you said, the obvious people, Trout, Ohtani, they're gonna do what they can do. I look like a rancid guy.
I'm enjoying it, to be honest, just the outline.
They're gonna, like, we know what Trout and Ohtani are gonna do. We hope whatever Rendon can do. But if they can get someone like Taylor Ward, like, being legitimately productive in September, even August, which shouldn't be that hard of a thing to me, they could take them over. I just don't know, like, what have the Mariners done to because I can't even think of any.
I believe in the pitching because they had these guys on the roster last year, but they really took off towards the end of the season. You talked about Castillo, I think was a great addition for them. Kind of came out of nowhere in that sweepstakes and landed him. And then George Kirby, who I think it's just crazy.
He's so
like the birth years of some of these guys. Yeah, this guy was born in 1998, but I think that he had like 15 walks like all of last season, some of the best control in the majors. So I trust the pitching staff. I really like Robbie Ray too. I think even like the back end of that bullpen with guys like Diego Castillo and Paul Sewald, I think those are good arms as well. But I mean, obviously the story anytime that you talk about the Mariners is going to be J-Rod. They also got Teoscar Hernandez, which I think was a nice little acquisition for them. So I just, to me, it's going to be between those two. I think the Rangers, like they're obviously willing to spend money. I mean, they've thrown around money the last two off seasons. And I think that like, it's not like just throwing money around aimlessly. Like I think they are legit signings. Obviously it's going to hinge a lot on the arm of DeGrom, how well these are going to play out.
Which you can't ever rely on that though.
I know, like the last couple seasons. But what's weird is like, at least when he's been pitching, it's not like he's falling off a cliff performance-wise. Like he still pitches really well when he's able to get onto the mound. Just how do you get him on the mound? Maybe that was more of like, we're going to find out a lot about like, we might get some answers here on like the Mets training staff. If the Rangers are able to keep this guy, and maybe it's like limiting his innings. I don't know what the solution is. But I do like what the Rangers have done. I just think, honestly, like this could sneakily be one of the more competitive divisions. I think they do get two playoff teams out of this, though. Spoiler
Yeah.
alert.
Now, so I was watching the last year when the Mariners were in the playoffs, like watching. I've always liked Luis Castillo.
Mm-hmm.
He's just a cool dude. Dude, when he pitches the ball, like he puts. I know this sounds like a I guess weird, but he pitches so angrily. It's like he's like it's me versus you, and you're not going to beat me one on one. Is how he pitches, and it's so exciting to watch, especially like in the postseason. That
Yeah.
series with that watching him pitch in the postseason was unbelievable because I'm like he's really never been here before, and he might have the most confidence of any player in the MLB.
You know what's funny is like this will resonate with MLB the Show players if they've done this moment. But like the way you were talking about him, I thought you were talking about Satchel Paige. Like literally, like if you've played MLB the Show and done the Satchel Paige moments, like there's the stories about him are just ridiculous. Like in terms of how old he was when he was pitching, but also like one team upset him so much that he was like, all right, nobody's playing in the field because I'm just gonna strike these guys out. So he literally just had his guys take a knee behind him. Nobody played the field, and he just struck out 3 straight batters.
Yeah.
Did that actually happen? Like they're telling these like stories about him. But anyway, yeah, big Luis Castillo fan, which is why I'm so glad that he's no longer pitching for the Cincinnati Reds. But yeah, to recap, then we only have one difference. So I got Astros, Mariners, Angels, Rangers, A's, and you have Astros, Angels, Mariners, Rangers, A's.
Yeah, but
Okay.
it will be interesting to see Astros post Verlander because they've always been able to kind of rely on like, okay, our pitching can be what it is, our hitting can be. We know Verlander's going to do what he can. So this year we're really going to see because they've invested in like from what I understand, like a lot of their farm system is like pitching. They take a lot of pride in that.
Yeah.
And we're really going to see if it pays off because I mean they have, I think, a lot of really good guys, but they don't have a Verlander anymore.
Well, that's been the big conversation. Is it going to be Christian Javier or like Framber Valdez that takes that? Because one of them probably needs to take that leap.
Yeah.
To your point, to be like the true number one of that staff. If I was putting, if I had to put like my stamp on it, my money would be on Javier to do that. I thought he looked really good in the World Baseball Classic. I really like his stuff. So it'll be interesting to see if one of those two guys does take that leap. I mean, it's basically the same conversation that they were having at shortstop, and then Jeremy Pena came out, of nowhere to do what he did, replacing Carlos Correa. So the Astros they do this roster turnover thing as good as anybody. Unfortunately, so it'll be interesting to see. Moving along to what might be, along with like the NL Central is like the two weakest divisions. Let's talk about the AL Central here. But there is one team to me at the top that stands out amongst them, and that's the Guardians. I really like Cleveland's team top to bottom. I think that the pitching is really good. I like the additions that they've had in the offseason too. I maybe a little bit of bias in me, but I liked what he started to do in San Diego and then moving over to Cleveland free agency. That's Josh Bell. I think he can thrive in Cleveland, especially when you surround him with that lineup. Jimenez was a great addition, a great get in that Lindor trade.
So I don't mean to distract you, dude. I can't figure this out.
What's that?
The light is just terrible right now.
Yeah, I think that like we just have to live with the fact that you're just going to be an outline for
We're
this.
going to stay like this.
So that's got to be super uncomfortable. But if that's what you want to do, yeah. But anyway, I think when you look at the AL Central, I'm not saying like it's the same level as like the AL West where everybody's chasing one team, but like the Guardians to me are the clear cut number one here. And I guess like maybe if you're expecting a leap from like the White Sox, potentially like if those guys can stay healthy, like Moncada hasn't been healthy recently, what are you going to get from Lou Bob and Eloy Jimenez in that outfield? Like it's going to be interesting, but like where do you see this division going?
So I have, look at my phone. I mean, Guardians number one. It's kind of, and then White Sox, Twins, Royals, Tigers.
Ooh,
I don't care. To me, it's just like at least the Royals have like some fun players. The Tigers have Javi Baez, and I mean,
Torkelson and Green, right?
Yeah, Riley Green is going to be very interesting because I think he had his like 6th homer of the spring training yesterday. And like I mean, again, going back to like MLB The Show fans, but I mean, he's been pretty highly sought there for them for a while. So we'll see if he can bring some power. But I mean, they just don't. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about two teams that could potentially be right in the mix to lose 100 still this season. Neither one seemed like incredibly interested in like getting to a point of competing this offseason based off what they did. Managerial change for the Royals. So like that was really the big talking point from there. And then of course, like, Bobby Witt Jr., how far can he take that team? Really good player.
He's going to be so fun to watch.
Yeah, I agree. But so we're talking about like who's to be 4 and 5. I actually have it the opposite, Tigers, Royals. But to me, like, yeah, Guardians, White Sox, Twins, Tigers, Royals is how I have this playing out. I only have one playoff team coming out of this. That's the Guardians winning the division. To me, like I said, I think it's, as weak of a division as we have in the MLB right now. There's a lot of star power right now. Like, it's a really good time to be an MLB fan. Like, most teams have at least one guy worth tuning in and watching every night. But if you want to talk, like, this is probably the division with the least of it.
They have like Tim Anderson. And he's only has star power because he has really cool bat flips.
Yeah, it's not necessary. I mean, he's a good player, but yeah, it's more about like everything else.
Yeah, I mean the thing, like, and we've said, I mean, we were talking on PlayStation the other day. It doesn't make any sense why the White Sox aren't good. Like, they have Lou Bob is an awesome outfielder. Along with him, like they have him, Jimenez, Yasmani Grandal, Tim Anderson, Dylan Cease, Moncada. What's Lance Lynn? I think is still there.
And I literally, the guy they got, I just brought him up the other day. Yeah, Lucas Giolito.
Like, how is that team so mid? It doesn't make any sense, and especially in that division, they should be winning almost every game in that division except against the Guardians. And the Guardians,
Dylan Cease, by the way, popular Cy Young pick. I was going through looking like
he got shafted last year. Like, not, and maybe not like in like but it seems to be he's one of the more like underappreciated pitchers in baseball.
Yeah,
people don't. He had a fantastic year, and hardly anybody talks about him.
He's unseated like Giolito there as that team's best pitcher, but like Giolito was only like 2 years removed from having a Cy Young type season. So I think that's probably why is like name recognition that probably still stands with Giolito for the time being. Like Dylan Cease is probably going to have to like win one in order for them to start talking about him over Giolito.
Yep.
But yeah, so I only have the Guardians as a postseason team from that division. I don't think it's going to be a incredibly competitive division. I think you're going to have like, the White Sox could definitely be in that, especially if things go right for them. And that's really about the health of these players. Mm-hmm. I really don't question the talent that's on that roster. Even obviously they lost Abreu, but like all the names you rattled off, like that team could definitely push for, 85 plus wins if those guys pan out.
And sneaky, they got Andrew Benintendi, who he's an on base machine. Like I think he said that he prefers wearing these pinstripes to the Yankees pinstripes, but whatever. And I mean the Guardians. Sorry, but the Guardians fixed a big problem they had last year, which was power. I mean, they got Josh Bell, who listen. I know that Pirates.
I really think that bat's going to play. I really think that bat's going to play well there.
Yeah, and like he doesn't like with the Nationals. He was kind of like their only like good hitter besides Soto, and then he couldn't really do anything. And then his stats like after joining San Diego were atrocious, and I don't know what happened there. It maybe just wasn't meant to be. But if you can get guys on with like, who's their second baseman? Like Jimenez, I forget.
Jimenez, yep.
Yeah, so they have him, Richo McQuan, right there. 2 on base guys. Jose Ramirez, who I think is the best third baseman in baseball. And you put Josh Bell like hitting 4. I mean,
I think it's about the line of protection that he's going to have there.
Yep. And they have. I mean, if Shane Bieber can be what he was a couple years ago too.
Yeah, and I'm going to talk about another pitcher later on from that team that I really like too. But I think. Yeah, like we really haven't touched on the Twins much. I mean, I don't think they were expecting to have Carlos Correa back on their team, especially with like the way that whole saga played out. I don't know. I mean, I do think the Pablo Lopez deal, I guess they were trying to sell high on Luis Arias.
Arias, yeah.
Who had a great season last year in terms of like his batting average and things like that. I think that a lot of people are probably like, maybe a flash in the pan. I think that's probably like Minnesota trying to sell high there. They get a really good starting pitcher and Pablo Lopez back from Miami in that deal. Like Sonny Gray's there. I I just don't see it with the roster as a whole being able to compete with the Guardians
I
or
mean, they
even
have
the White Sox in May.
Buxton's awesome. I
Buxton
love
is, but
he's
again,
so
like
much fun,
health,
but
comes into play there because he hasn't been on the field a whole ton.
yeah, and they have a fan favorite Max Kepler still. So that's cool.
Joey Gallo is on that team
Boo.
now.
Nah, he might
But
be, but
yeah, the
nah,
Guardians,
he can kick rocks.
the Guardians to me are who everybody's chasing. I guess the one question with the Guardians is probably the outfield. Outside of Stephen Kwan,
They had who was their center fielder who did nothing offensively, but he was good defensively.
Miles Straw.
That might be it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but the thing is, like with an infield like they have though, all they
Yeah.
need, because they have somehow figured out a way to be consistent. They figured out a way to be the Royals who won the World Series, but for like 5 straight years.
Yeah.
Where like they don't need like they haven't had power, but they just they strictly rely on just being able to hit the ball, get guys on and get them in. Like they're such small ball, and it's actually kind of impressive to watch, to be honest.
Stephen Kwan's perfect for that type of team. So
Yep.
yeah, I'm with the Guardians here. Again, only playoff team I see coming out of that division. Is that also how you feel?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And moving on to your favorite division to talk about from the American League, that's the AL East, comprised of the Yankees, Blue Jays, Rays, Orioles, and Red Sox. I'll let you take the floor first. I think that you want to spend a lot of time here talking about the Yankees. Great for them, by the way. They got a shortstop that's like 20 years old that's going to be on the MLB roster. That's pretty cool. That'd be awesome to have as a Pirates fan.
From New Jersey.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, I saw someone do that comparison, and it didn't sit right with me for a second, but I'm hoping. But yeah, I mean, this is the Yankees division to lose. It's unless, I mean, you want to talk about like trying to figure out like coaching staffs. Everybody is hurt right now. Like and I said the other day, Carlos Rodon might be back for a second start, or he might miss the entire year. So we're going to see how that goes. But even with that, though, the Jays lineup is like pretty close, I think, to the Yankees. But I don't think that if you take their pitching staff compared to the Yankees, even with some of the injuries, I'm taking Garrett Cole over anybody on the Jays. I'm taking Nestor over maybe 3 people on the Jays. And I'm taking, I mean, Sevy, we'll see if he can finish the year not hurt. But I mean, I'm taking him. Like if everything works how it's supposed to work, which won't happen, the Yankees will run away with this division. And getting Volpe is such a huge, like, for Yankees fans, we have not been excited about something like this happening in a long time. And I kind of feel bad for Glaber because he is just getting shafted, and he shouldn't be, because he's an awesome player.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they're going to, I mean, I don't think that Stanton has the ability to play the field anymore. So he kind of has to be the DH. But I mean, they re-signed Rizzo, huge. I'm huge. I'm whenever they traded for Rizzo, I was very, very excited. I don't really think we need to say that they paid Aaron Judge, because everybody knows that by now. And I am hoping that Oswaldo Cabrera plays in the outfield instead of Aaron Hicks, which I think that a lot of Yankees fans can agree with that if Aaron Hicks is out of the lineup, it's a good thing. But I think that they're going to have a very similar season as last year. I actually think they're going to be better than they were last year in the postseason. I think that this is the year that they finally beat the Astros in a playoff series, which is bold, I think. But I have Yankees, Jays, Rays, Orioles, Red Sox.
Wow. Okay. So I actually have it the same way. And
oh,
I was
really?
like, yeah. Yeah. And I have it right here. Like, if people don't believe me, they can look at my phone. But I thought it was going to be like hot takey to have the Red Sox in last, but I do not see. Now, they, like, with the way that they are willing to spend, they can easily like turn this around within a season or two. But like, I think the loss of Xander Bogaerts is going to be
You
pretty
can't
massive. Like,
you
I
can't
think
let him go.
I think re-signing Devers was obviously great. But like this is gonna to me hinge a lot on like, we're gonna bring up one comeback player. Like Chris Sale is going to have to really turn it around, like and
Yep.
come back from what he's been the last couple years. I mean, he hasn't been healthy, but like, yeah, I think there's just so many question marks with that roster right now. I think you just go up and down that lineup and you're just like even their additions, right? Like obviously we have no clue what Yoshida is going to be coming over, but like Justin Turner, Yu Chang, look at their catcher situation. Reese McGuire
Your
is their number
boy,
one catcher.
your boy Yu Chang.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see it when I look at this team. Corey Kluber,
What was the point of
Kenley Jansen, who's like what 40 at this point. I mean, like I just feel like they went out and got a bunch of names that just aren't as productive though anymore.
Yeah, they're like, hey, who have we heard over the last 5 years? Let's
Yeah.
get all of them. But like, what was the point for them to re-sign Devers just to let Xander go? You're the Red Sox. You can afford both. It like that
It did
move.
seem like
It was weird.
they really it was one or the other. It certainly seemed like whether it should have been or not. That's certainly the way that it was treated. It seems like.
I hate the Red Sox, but Xander Bogaerts was one of my favorite players to watch
Mm-hmm.
because I mean, he is a 300 hitter when he's fully healthy. And then you pair that with Rafi, that's as good of a second base, I mean, shortstop, third base duo of anybody in the league. And you're just going to let him walk? It's like they were fine with letting him go as long as they got how do you say that guy's name? The Yoshida? Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's like they were more focused on getting him than they were re-signing Xander.
Yeah, that's another one of their international signings like that. Typically, like when they shell out large money like that, they don't have the best track record with doing so. But I mean, I'm not rooting against the guy or anything. It's just, yeah, he's going to be a big X factor for the way the Red Sox season goes. I think when I look at the Rays, like it's funny because I want to question their starting pitching outside of McClanahan, but it's always the case with the Rays. Like they
You
always,
can't.
it doesn't matter who their starting pitchers are. I mean, like what's Glass now going to be like coming back? Is Shane Boz? Shout out to Shane. Like how's that going to go for him? Like there's just so many question marks when you go up and down their pitching staff, and it never matters though for the Rays.
Yeah, there's question marks about that team every year, and somehow they're in the second round of the playoffs. It's
Mm-hmm.
so weird. I do think that there's going to be 3 playoff teams. I think that the Yankees, Jays, and Rays all make it again. And you know who's awesome is Randy Rosarena.
Yeah, he is.
He is so much fun to watch, and coming from a Yankees fan, he can show up in the playoffs when you need him to.
Wait, so hold on. How many?
Oh wait, I might have miscounted that. My bad.
If you have 3 playoff teams from there, what do you have in the West? You only have the
Okay,
division winner.
maybe not that. Maybe I'll sub out the. I'm going to sub out the Jays for the Angels then. I miscounted.
Okay. So I have you have Yankees, Jays? You said?
Yeah.
Okay, so we do have these. Okay, at first, all right. So yeah, Yankees, Blue Jays, Rays, Orioles, Red Sox. I think I look at the Blue Jays. You kind of talked about like the starting pitching compared to the Yankees. Um, Obviously you have Manoah who finished like third in Cy Young voting last year. Kevin Gossman has actually bounced back nice from what it looked like he was going to be in Baltimore. Jose Barrios probably hasn't been exactly what they would have liked in that trade from Minnesota. Like he was a pretty big ticket item. I think Chris Bassett though, coming over from the Mets, like he was a pretty decent pitcher there in New York. I think that's a sneaky good addition for them. Which is why I give them, along with like, I don't even think you need to talk about their lineup 1 through 8,
No.
what they can throw out there.
But losing Teoscar is huge. That
It is.
That was because they have power bats, but I mean, other than Vladdy, not like him. No, like Teoscar can literally change an entire game.
Right. I think from like an offensive standpoint, you've seen like, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but what they would probably need to have happen is like Matt Chapman find his bat again. They brought in Brandon Belt, which is kind of random to me.
They need Springer to be healthy.
Yeah, Springer to be healthy. like Whit Merrifield's not going to provide pop, but like if he could get back to the level he was playing as an all-star, Dalton Varsho, really nice addition in my mind.
Yeah.
Um,
Alejandro Kirk's there too.
yeah, I mean what they can throw out there. I mean, yeah, they got the pieces for sure within that lineup. It's going to be about the pitching. I do want to touch on the Orioles briefly, just because like very fun team last year. I think a lot of people like were rooting for them to find their way to the postseason, but like in this division, it's just going to be so tough. I mean, they're probably another year or two away. Like they really need Adley to be like the guy. They need Gunnar Henderson to be everything that they're expecting him to be and more probably.
They need
I just,
Sed to return to
yeah,
Sed form.
yeah. Santander probably to like take a step. Like it'll be interesting to see. I think they're going to be fun.
Mountcastle too.
Mountcastle. I think they're going to be fun. I don't think that they're gonna, make as much noise in terms of actually competing for the division yet.
They kind of remind me of when the Pirates like were just starting to become good. That's what this team reminds me of. Like it was a lot of like the younger people coming in. I think if they add like, I mean, because they have like Felix Bautista's awesome in their bullpen.
He's like 6'8".
I know, like if they can somehow add like a A-class starting pitcher, maybe in the trade deadline, I think they could rival the Rays with that for that third seed.
Yeah, I mean, from a starting pitching perspective, all they really went out and did was get Kyle Gibson. I mean, that's not moving the needle for me really.
Yeah, they're still kind of banking on DL Hall, but he hasn't really. He was like one of their first like prospects that came up before Adley, and he's been okay, but he's a lefty, so it's cool.
And they need the legend of John Means to return. What a weird season that was. Was that COVID season or no?
I think so.
Yeah, it was around that. That was around that point for sure. I can't remember if it was the year before or.
Check real quick. Hold on. Wait, why does it say 18 to 22? Did he retire?
What?
Oh, never mind. Let's see.
They still showed him on the active
It was 2021.
Okay. All right. But yeah, I see that two playoff teams from there, being the Yankees and Blue Jays. I thought it was gonna be hot takey to have the Red Sox in last, but we're in lockstep there.
No, they stink.
Moving to the NL. I don't know. So I mean, the other two divisions that aren't the Central, I know we want to end with the Central. They should be pretty competitive, at least at the top. When you talk about the NL West and the NL East. So which one do you want to start with?
Let's go with the West first.
Okay, the West comprised of the Padres, Dodgers, Giants, Diamondbacks, and Rockies. Oddly enough, I actually want to start with the Diamondbacks here, just because we were talking about this on PlayStation. If they don't make that trade, trading away Dalton Varsho to Toronto, not saying that they would compete for the division over the Dodgers or Padres, I think they would have went into this season, the 2023 season, like feeling a little bit better about where they were at, especially like, a guy like Corbin Carroll, who should be a ton of fun to watch.
Yeah. And your boy, Christian Walker.
I made the joke. I made the joke when we were playing MLB The Show, going back again to a video game, that I was going to buy MLB TV just to boo Christian Walker every at bat that he came up, because I could not get past his moments, the NL West moments on MLB The Show. But 36 homers last year. Christian Walker is a good player. Not a bad roster by any means, but it's just hard to see them competing with the big dogs and the Padres and Dodgers. How do you see this one playing out?
So I actually think if they didn't trade Varsho, they could be in that Orioles territory where they'd be kind of fun.
Yeah.
I have Padres, Dodgers, Giants, Rockies, Diamondbacks. Even though I don't, spoiler alert, I don't think the Padres are winning the World Series this year. They are going. I mean, if you want to bring up star power, dude, like, I mean, when does Tatis come back? Like June?
Yeah, I believe so.
Like, I mean, you have Juan Soto, Manny Machado, what? Fernando Tatis, what? Xander Bogaerts. I mean, right there. Plus, on the pitching side, you still have Yu Darvish, Joe Musgrove. I what lineup is rivaling? I mean, you have 3 of the top probably 20 best players in baseball when
Right.
Tatis comes up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would want to. It would be awesome to just watch like 7 games of them versus the Blue Jays
Oh my god! You talk about
lineups,
it.
just going head to
You
head.
want to talk about like a dude off in baseball?
Yeah.
That would be a great World Series just as a dude off alone.
Mm-hmm. Like throw pitching out the window. Just look at the hitters. What
Mm-hmm.
teams can throw out there. Yeah, that would be stupid.
They did lose Juxtaphone Profar though, which I know that might not mean all that much to a lot. I actually think he was a great like team guy. I
He
think
moves
that he
around a
like
lot. He plays like every position.
yeah, he was reliable. Like if you ever he was a I don't know. I feel like he was kind of like a locker room guy too. And
Mm-hmm.
losing him, I mean, and Brennan Drury last year was pretty good for them. So losing him too might stink, but it doesn't matter.
They're
I mean,
gonna
you have
like
Juan
like
Soto and Manny
somehow
Machado.
Michael Walker is gonna like turn back the clock and have a fantastic season for them.
Yeah,
Like that's
like the
fully what I'm expecting.
what
Xander
like
Bogaerts,
okay,
we talked about him. That's
what do you think? Do you think the Dodgers are just gonna keep being this team who just spends all the money, but just keeps falling short?
I am actually really worried about what they're gonna do. So obviously this isn't like a 2024 like free agency preview or anything like that. I am really worried that that is where Ohtani is going because they didn't shell out a ton of money this offseason. I think they're saving for something. What else would they be saving for next offseason?
I don't know, man. It's gonna suck.
Especially because, Gavin Lux goes down for the season, right? And it's like they got the ability to spend anywhere and like try to acquire whatever to replace him, and they don't. Like they're kind of just relying on guys in house, and I think it's because what they want is next offseason. So I'm looking at them right now. Um, I I'm with you though that at the top, I think in the regular season, I give a slight edge to the Padres. I really like the Bogarts edition. Hey, Nelson Cruz can still hit. He doesn't have to play the field.
Yep.
He's going to be the DH. I think that was a nice addition, a nice power bat for that lineup. The Dodgers, I mean, really from like a rotation standpoint, I think they bring back Clayton Kershaw. Obviously, I never really felt like he was going anywhere. Noah Syndergaard, though, I mean,
I think he has
like
a year with them. I'm not saying he's going to return to like Thor, but I
no
do
pressure
think
though there. Like it's like what
yeah,
is he like the
none.
4th or 5th guy? I mean, so
And that's what he needs. He kind of just needs to just kind of like, all right, Noah, just go out there and pitch and not make fun of the Pirates again because
I
that was
realize
mean.
that might have been a stupid statement, like no pressure pitching for the Dodgers, but I just mean in terms of like infrastructure with what they have on that team. Like he doesn't need to be the ace at the top of the staff or
Mm-hmm.
anything like that. Like there still is going to be, expectation for him to perform when he's on the mound, but like them similarly to Nelson Cruz, JD Martinez, DH for the Dodgers. So
Yeah,
another, veteran there. The Rockies, they got
they
your
are.
boy CJ at first.
They are what they are, though.
Moose. They got Moose
Oh,
there now.
I forgot they got Moose.
Yeah.
Nice.
Um,
And I mean,
Jerkson. That's where Jerkson went.
the Giants were almost had a good offseason.
Hey, yeah, if this was what teams almost did, the Giants are probably in first place right now.
They almost got
Shamanea
Correa.
is there. Yeah, who was it? Who would they fall back? Oh, Mitch Haniger was who they fell back on, kind of with like
Mhm.
just the way that things went down for them. Michael Conforto also there, didn't play last year.
He's still
It'll
playing?
be yeah, he's back in the majors after not playing last year. That was like a whole big thing with like the COVID stuff and him.
Oh,
But
great.
back this year. Yeah, I have a hard. So I actually the only difference I have is I have Diamondbacks, Rockies at the bottom of that, but the top 3 we have the same. So I have Padres and Dodgers both making the playoffs, and then Giants, Diamondbacks, Rockies outside of the playoffs. I just, yeah, I'm with you though. Like when it comes to the Diamondbacks, I'm just Marte's a good player. Corbin Carroll is going to be the one to watch.
Yep.
So
He
I
might
think that they
steal.
can
He
still be fun,
legitimately
but
might steal 40 bags this year.
yeah, I think they're gonna be
Big,
fun to watch. I think if you're a fan, like it's still gonna be like relatively exciting to go to games. I just in this division, maybe like if they have a great year, they can compete for third over the Giants or something. If
yeah.
things go right, they're not gonna be above the Dodgers or Padres though.
I honestly though, if I'm them, that like, excuse me, I'm only watching him for Corbin Carroll. He like I really, really, really think he's going to be a star. Just because I mean, if he can bat 300 plus with his speed, you don't need power at that point. Like
Yeah.
there was a stat, like there was someone was did some sort of stat, like I forget what stat it was, but basically he's the fastest player in baseball, and he hasn't played an inning yet.
Wow.
They tracked how fast he got to first base, I think it was, and it was the fastest recorded ever.
Jeez. Also, Evan Longoria's playing in Arizona now for some reason. I also like Zach Gallen's a pretty good pitcher, so I'd be remiss probably if we go up and down this roster and didn't mention him. But yeah, I think that that trade with Varsho kind of changed like the outlook. They must feel like they weren't in a place to compete within this division at least, and I can't necessarily blame them for pivoting away from that and saying, "Man, look at what the Padres are doing. Look at what the Dodgers are doing. We're not there yet, so let's try to just like retool this right now." I didn't like the trade for this. So my issue probably isn't with the process. Like if you're gonna trade Varsho, fine. I didn't love the return. I like
Mhm.
Gurriel's okay, but I think that was a net loss for them. And I like the move for the Blue Jays a lot more. So
I think every All-Star game in Home Run Derby should be in Colorado.
that would be fun.
I also think that's why I wish that Colorado was good, because seeing a playoff series in Colorado would be awesome just because of how many home runs would be hit.
Yeah. Pivoting to the NL East again, like this should be very fun at the top. You got the
Oh
Phillies,
yeah.
Braves, Mets, and then Marlins and Nationals. Um, I'm curious if we have different opinions on this one. Um, so how do you see this one playing out? Spoiler alert, I got a couple playoff teams coming from this division as well.
So I actually switched my mind as I was looking at my
Mm,
list.
okay.
I have
So probably actually play out as being what the first thought was.
yeah, for sure. I have Phillies at the top, which I don't know if that's a hot take. Mets. No, actually, sorry. I have Phillies, and this is where I switched. Braves in the second place. Mets, Marlins, Nationals.
I'm so mad. I'm so like
Is it the
people.
same?
Yeah, it is.
We know ball.
Um, yeah, Phillies and Braves making I got the Mets outside the playoffs, which is gonna be crazy. Like when you think
I
about
just
what they're willing to do and what they're willing to
I
spend.
just think there's something about the Mets where it doesn't work.
How much
Like,
of
yeah,
this did the Edwin Diaz injury play into your decision to knock them down and move up
yes,
the Braves?
because they
Okay.
yeah, because now it's like who because they actually I think they still have what's his name? Trevor Williams. I think he's still on their rotation.
Mm,
I might be wrong.
okay. Yeah, I
But
believe he was brought back.
like I'm not I am just not a Jeff McNeil guy. He's fast in the outfield, and that's about it. He's not like I think Marte is actually going to have a really good year this year. Obviously, Lindor is sweet. Like he's awesome to watch.
Mhm.
Pete
Verlander was so
Alonso.
fantastic last year.
Oh yeah, I completely. Oh
But like that's the thing is they're relying on like 40-year-old Verlander and 39-year-old Scherzer. Like I mean,
yeah.
which they're
I
it's hard to bet against those names, but at some point they're going to fall off. And what if it's this year?
but you have the Braves who have Michael Harris in a full year, who like
Mhm.
everybody's like raving about that guy. You have Spencer Strider in a full year. You
Max
have
Fried's really good.
Max Fried. Hopefully Acuna stays healthy this year because they were good last year, and then they didn't even have him for half the year.
Mm-hmm. Sean Murphy, really nice get at catcher.
That that's the thing too. They don't even need him to play catcher really if they don't want him to, because they still have William Contreras, who's not
Well, they
like
have
terrible.
Darno, right?
Oh my god, they do have Darnell. So they have three catchers. Why did they do that? Huh? I think I don't know. You just like stopped me in my tracks. I completely forgot they had three catchers. I mean, Matt Olson he's always going to be a good hitter at least. Like he'll bat like 250.
Oh, well, actually, here's why is because they traded William Contreras to the Brewers in December of last year.
Wow,
So in the
I don't know
offseason.
ball. I'm
That's the
ashamed.
answer to your question right there.
All right, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sean Murphy is a great power bat too, behind the plate. I told someone today he reminds me of like 2000s catchers, where it was basically just like, hey, hit a home run or nothing else. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, that's another one where it's like I understand where the A's are in their process. Like they're not competing, but
I don't.
yeah, I mean the return on that was terrible. Anyways, looking at the Mets though, yeah, again they're going to be relying on Senga obviously coming over. That's going to be the big thing. Like, is he going to be able to elevate that rotation? Who's going to be without what they probably consider what like obviously getting Verlander was like the big thing for them, but Jose Quintana looked like it was going to be a nice add too based off what he did last year. They're not going to have him until like at least July with what
Yeah.
with the injury he suffered. So that will be interesting to see how they are able to supplant that. And then, not a ton of other like they didn't really make any additions to their lineup 1 through 8.
They tried.
Yeah, they certainly tried. Like Tommy Pham. Okay. I mean, that's not doing anything for me.
I'm sure
So,
his 10 home runs will play a pivotal role this year.
yeah, I'm not seeing it. But I looked at the Phillies. I like the pitching. I think getting Gregory Soto for the bullpen from Detroit, like one of the few pieces they did have, was fantastic.
A lefty too.
He's sick. So yeah, I think that was a great move for them. Obviously, though, the big move here, and I'll be talking about him later on too when we get to some awards potentially. Trey Turner. I mean, what a move for them. I think that you look at this Phillies team, and coming off a World Series loss, this is their way of saying like, yeah, we're not going anywhere. We plan on getting right back there. So I do have the Phillies winning the division as well. I give a slight edge to the Braves over the Mets just because of like predictively health, as well as like I really do think that like Acuna is that dude, and I think like as long as he stays healthy, with the addition of Sean Murphy, the guys at the top of that rotation, like we mentioned, and then like the Marlins are a team that I like. Like, how can we not talk about Sandy Alcantara, who's ridiculous? I think going to be right back in the mix for NL Cy Young, but I don't. They're not competing with the teams at the top. They made that trade that we talked about earlier when we talked about the Twins. Luis Arraez is now there.
That's
no.
all he does is get on base. Like I know it's like it sounds like a slight, and it's not meant as a slight, but all he does is get on base. That's it. Like he doesn't hit for power. He hits doubles sometimes, but he's a walk and singles machine. That's what he does. And in that lineup, who
8
do you
home runs
have
last year?
Who do you have bringing him in? Jazz doesn't have all that. I mean, I love Jazz. He's a
yeah,
very
Garrett Cooper. I mean, that's your power bat, I'm guessing. Like, I think a
Soler.
lot of people are expecting. Oh, yeah, Soler's there. I think a lot of people are expecting Brian De La Cruz to take a leap this year.
But how much of a
But
leap though? That's what I mean. Like, you can't logically to me it doesn't make sense to bring in somebody who gets on base a lot just to not add someone else who can bring him in.
right, yeah, I don't see. And then you talked about the Nationals. This to me is the worst outfield in baseball. I mean, I'm looking at the names here, like Victor Robles, Lane Thomas, Alex Call, and Corey Dickerson are their 4 outfielders they have on their
Is
roster
Robert
right now.
Hassel not? Is he not on the club?
He's not listed on their 40-man roster.
Why? I mean, what do you have to lose? Let him play.
That's an interesting point. I don't know what the deal is there.
Why did you trade Juan Soto for him then?
Yeah, unless he's listed somewhere else. I can't find his name here anywhere. So,
Because I'm not crazy. He is an outfielder, correct?
yeah.
Yeah. What? That was the big get in the Soto trade. Why are you not putting him on the field?
Unless he's still, I know he got hurt in the fall league last year. I'm not sure if, but he broke his hamate bone in October. So, he wasn't invited to Major League Camp this year. So that would be why, because of that.
Okay.
But anyway, that will be interesting to see. Yeah, you look at the Nationals, it's really just like top prospects that came from other organizations and trades, like Keibert Ruiz, CJ Abrams. Carter Keyboom is cool. I hope that he's able to put it together. And then Joey Meneses, who was really good in the World Baseball Classic.
Hey, they have Patrick
again,
Corbin, right?
If you were in, oh my goodness. Actually, that's where Trevor Williams is. I'm looking at their team.
Oh,
right
okay.
now.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Mackenzie Gore, like another, top prospect of a different organization. Yeah, they're bad. They're going to
Yeah.
be bad. So, um, but to wrap up that, I have 2 playoff teams coming from this division: Phillies and Braves at the top, the Mets in third, and then the Marlins and Nationals. And I think that there's a large gap there between the Mets and Marlins, and then again between the Marlins and I think the Nationals are clearly the 5th
Yeah.
place team out of that division.
Yep. Same.
And then to wrap up the divisional talk here, the NL Central, this is the Cardinals. I look at the other team, they might have the easiest time winning a division in the MLB in 2023.
They could rest Arenado for 50 games and still win.
Yeah, I'm curious. We probably should just spend more time talking about the other teams that are chasing them. But you're in agreement, right? This is the Cardinals division.
And getting Jordan Walker is huge too.
Oh yeah, that's great too. Another team that's gonna have a top prospect just play right away.
But yes, it's the Cardinals.
That's awesome.
It's so funny seeing other teams do it, and the Pirates are just like, nope, sorry.
Yeah. That's the thing. It just makes them look bad. If ever, I understand that there's still teams that do that, right? It's not just the Pirates, but you have seen kind of a movement recently, and it makes them look worse. So,
what else does Travis Swaggerty have to do?
I'm not even. Yeah, I'm not even talking.
I know
about
that
Travis,
he's not. I know that he's not the one you were talking about, but it's guys like him. You're telling me that Connor Joe deserves a spot over Swaggerty. I don't know. I hope that Cannon hit Smith and Jigba works out this year, but yeah,
I think that was the thing for them, is it came down to those two, him and Swaggerty, for one spot, whether it should have or not. That's I think the way that it was being viewed by the organization. But yeah, I think that the Cardinals, you mentioned, Jordan Walker, Jack Flaherty is one of my favorite pitchers, despite him pitching for the Cardinals. I really hope that he's able to stay healthy and turn around. Big offseason addition of Wilson Contreras after losing Yadier Molina, obviously, finally hanging him up.
Oh no,
not a ton of movement elsewhere. I think they're relying on internal guys taking a step, like Nolan Gorman full season, Dylan Carlson taking the next step, and you mentioned Jordan Walker. Is Paul DeJong going to rebound? I don't even think that he has to necessarily, when you look at the rest of that roster, especially in this division. But yeah, to me, this is the Cardinals division. Who do you have below them though? How do you see this playing out under the Cardinals?
I have Cardinals, Cubs, Brewers, Pirates, Reds.
All right, so call me a homer. I actually have the Pirates in third, above the Brewers. I think the Brewers end up trading.
I just thought of switching it.
I think the Brewers end up trading Corbin Burnes this year.
Son of a B, dude. I was gonna say the same exact thing.
Yeah. By the way, you can. This is explicit. It really doesn't matter on here. So, but yeah, I think that I look at the Brewers. I think they clearly have said which direction they're going. Basically, they're not planning to compete. I don't like top to bottom what they've done recently, and I think that they're ready to enter into a seller's mode. And with the way that things played out with Corbin Burnes this winter, I think it's pretty clear the direction he wants to go. He doesn't want to be there. I would be very surprised if he's still a Brewer after the trade deadline.
He's gonna be a Dodger, and it's gonna piss me off.
Ooh, who honestly should go in? You could say the Yankees because of the injuries they've had to their pitching, but I'm looking at the Mets right now. Because
oh my god, I don't want to imagine that.
Also, the age of those guys. This is your piece for now and the future. But anyway, so yeah, I actually have it Cardinals, Cubs, Pirates, Brewers, Reds. And the reason I have the Cubs second after, obviously an abysmal season last year, they got some guys I just think bounce back this year. They handed pretty decent money to Tyon. They obviously believe that he's going to be, a guy for that rotation. Jan Gomes obviously getting up there in age, but they got 2 new catchers, both prioritizing defense, and him and Tucker Barnhart. Dansby Swanson, I think, is a great addition for them. I think that he finally really put it together and figured it out. Call me crazy. I think Cody Bellinger figures it out.
I was hoping he was going to with the Pirates.
Yeah, I think that was a nice buy low move for them. And say it doesn't work out, Suzuki was fantastic in the last 2 months of the season last year. a full season of that based off what he did that last couple months. And then, Trey Mancini as DH. Like, I think there's ways to, if Cody Bellinger doesn't figure it out, I still like the Cubs this year to finish, obviously, like a distant second to the Cardinals. I don't have two playoff teams coming out of this, but I think that like the Cubs, based off their offseason, they were the only team that it seemed like besides the Cardinals, like was willing to add. So to me, like by default, they're the number 2 team in the division right now.
Dansby's so huge for them too. Like
Yeah.
they have. When's the last time they had like a big name shortstop?
Well, I mean, like what Javi was like for a little bit.
But offensively though, Javi doesn't touch Dansby.
No,
That's what I'm maybe not like a big, because Javi was a big name, I guess. But
yeah,
he
like
was
exciting.
He was more of just like a loud player.
Yeah,
but like they have a legitimate like 4 or 5 tool shortstop now. Who
Javi Baez is like
offense.
He's a superstar without being a superstar player.
Yeah, he got on the cover of MLB The Show because he had like
he's very flashy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do think that I'm so mad you said that about Corbin Burns too. That was gonna be a hot take I was gonna have. But I think they're gonna be below where they want to be, and I think that they trade him, and I also think the Yelich gets traded.
Yeah, that's probably a good call too. I think that both those things definitely happen, if not at the trade deadline next winter. But I think that people are probably going to be paying a premium at this deadline when you look at like pitching, especially at the deadline, where every team knows like, okay, this is what is on the market. You have an arm like Corbin Burns out there. I can't imagine the type of return Milwaukee can get for that. To spend some time on the Pirates now, who I have finishing in third. Obviously older names here when you talk about the vets they brought in. It was just nice as a Pirates fan to see them add to the MLB roster finally. Like Rich Hill, despite his age, was still getting it done last year in Boston, pitching in the AL East, which is never easy to do. And then obviously the additions of Santana, G-Man Choi, like it was just nice to see them actually add to the MLB roster full season of Oneil Cruz. Yeah, Connor Joe. Bringing back Andrew McCutchen, which I don't think is just like a sentimental thing. I think he can still get on base at a good level. And he's going to add something to this team. They also have, to me, like a sneaky breakout candidate in Rodolfo Castro. Now, I don't think he's ever going to hit consistently enough to be like that type of guy, but the pop he can provide from both sides of the plate, plays good enough defense and does it at enough spots where I think he's going to be a solid contributor. I'm not saying like this guy's going to be an X factor or anything, but especially with the news today of Brew Baker probably not being ready to start the season and beginning on IL, like what's Vince Velasquez's role? Because I wanted him to be like, I wanted him to be a swing man, ideally, but like he's pitched very well in spring training and now with an injury to Brew Baker, like he's going to be, in this rotation for sure. The question is going to be like, how effective is he going to be? Because we're kind of far removed from him being like an effective starter in the MLB. So I liked what the Pirates did in the offseason enough where I have them over the Brewers, who I expect to be sellers.
I think the Pirates are going to finish maybe not 500 yet. I don't know if they're there yet, but I think they're going to finish
70 plus wins.
Yeah, and I know it's wishful thinking, but if Endy comes up, I think it's going to help. Like they need a catcher who can hit because they haven't had that since Cervelli, and he wasn't even a power guy. He was at least be able to get hits. Like Russell Martin was probably their last power hitting catcher. They have desperately needed one. And I'm not saying that he needs to hit 30 home runs. I'm just saying he needs to hit maybe like 20. But I think that G-Man Choi is a bigger signing than what a lot of fans think that he is, because this is where my bias is going to show. I watched him play against the Yankees for 4 years, and every time he played them, he always would go off, especially if the Pirates can make the postseason with G-Man Choi in the lineup. I'm telling you, I know it's crazy, but he could be a legitimate X factor in the playoffs.
He's been there. Yeah, ton of pedigree. I mean, you talk about when you look at these additions the Pirates have made, I think the big part is they're guys that have been there.
Yep.
So for a team comprised primarily of young guys that had no clue what the postseason is like, to bring guys in like that can kind of like show them the ropes and tell them what to expect. I think that's huge. Not
I
just for
just
this
want to
year,
see.
but
I want to see Oneil Cruz in the playoffs so bad,
yeah.
and I think that Brian Reynolds has a 5-war year
Ooh,
because
that
now he is legitimately playing for a contract.
mhm.
It may not be with the Pirates, but I think that this is the year where he shows every other team, hey, this is what you get with me. I think he goes back to hitting 300. I think he may hit 25 homers. I think that I'm gonna be tweeting Ryan a lot this year at Brian Reynolds.
Yeah, I love it.
And we haven't even talked about Brian Hayes, who somehow
Right.
found power in the spring training.
Yeah, you know what you're getting defensively. I think the big question is, are you going to get, a healthy season from him, and are you going to get the off? I think last year we saw like the floor of him as a player,
Mhm.
because you know what he's going to provide from the defensive standpoint, but where's the bat going to be? And he's looked really good offensively this spring. So if he can stay healthy and provide that with a bat, I'm not putting out of question that the Pirates can win, like get in that range of like 75 wins if things go right for them. And I think the big part of it too is I don't expect, like, obviously there might be like a piece or two. They're not going to be sellers at the deadline, because I think that they realize like they're getting closer. Like next season really should be when they're competing. So they're not going to like go into this deadline and be selling off these assets. I think that we're past that for at least the few seasons as we enter this. Like I compare the way that they're going into this year almost to like that 2011, 2012 Pirates.
I hope so because I'm so sick of getting emotionally attached to people and them leaving us. I miss
I
Daniel Vogelbach so much.
Yeah, a year. I think it was a year or two. He might have still been, because that's what I mean. Like you could still see a guy like Santana or Choi maybe moved at the deadline that aren't like in the long term future. Now, would I do it? I want them to like finally put their foot down and not keep trading. Like even guys that, this might sound stupid, even guys that are going to be leaving in free agency. Like I just think that they're
Mhm.
past the point where it's like it's more about making the statement that you're not always going to be sellers.
I'm
So like
worried that
trying to
Rich
win the
Hill
game.
is gonna.
Rich
I'm
Hill's another
sorry.
one. Yeah. No, go ahead.
I'm worried that Rich Hill is gonna play above expectations, and everybody's gonna love him, and he's gonna be the Pirates version of Matt Cullen, and then they're gonna trade him.
Yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of people probably need to like be prepared for that reality, because I think it's a
Like
very good
Jose
chance.
Quintana last year was
That's
objectively good with the Pirates, and I understand he was gonna leave, but like you said, dude, it's like you have to at some point say, all right, we're gonna keep some of these guys. He
yeah,
would have been a great guy to give like a 3-year let him finish his. He's not gonna be playing that much longer.
yeah.
He would have been a great guy to keep around for a
That's I
couple
was
years.
always team extend him over trade him, and granted, obviously, like we wouldn't have known this with unless we have the benefit of hindsight. But he's going to miss significant time this year. But yeah, we wouldn't. Excuse me,
Yep.
wouldn't have known that. So, but I think real quickly to touch on the Reds, who we both have finishing last here, I am really excited about Hunter Green. So he'll be fun to watch. I think. I mean, is Jonathan India going to turn it back around?
Even if
Um,
he does, who else do they have?
yeah, like their what was their big offseason addition, Will Myers. I mean, like,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't see it with this team whatsoever. Joey Votto's not going to start the year. He's hurt right now. I don't like this roster top to bottom. Former Pirate Kevin Newman is a
Nice.
Cincinnati Red, so but yeah, I think that I'm not going to say like comfortably, because I think like still I don't think that there's too many teams in this. I think there's only one team in this division that's going to make the playoffs. So I think a lot of teams are going to be hovering around that 500 or lower record. So I don't think it's like comfortably in last place, but when you look at the roster, I do think there's a gap there.
If your big signing is signing somebody named Will, who's supposed to name with one L, you did not have a good offseason.
that that's a very fair take, I feel like. So,
Thank you.
um all right, so to wrap up the playoff teams that we each have real quick, I have from the AL, as I accidentally slide out of my notes, the Astros, Mariners, Yankees, Blue Jays, and Guardians.
So 5, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I have Yankees, Jays, Guardians, Astros, Angels.
Wait, am I messing that up?
I thought there were 6.
You're right. There is. They
That's what threw me off.
They expanded that. They expanded that. I forgot about them doing that. That's the thing.
Yeah, that's what threw me off when I said I have 3 teams from the East, and you were like, "Wait, what?"
This is great. It's a great show. I completely forgot about like the expand. You know what really threw me off? Well, first off, every year since 2020 has just been 1 year combined.
Yeah,
But
true.
when they did that playoff format where like basically every team besides the Pirates was in the playoffs, like that really threw me off.
Yeah, I understand.
So yeah, you have like the best of 3 wild card round now. So yeah, it's a 12-team playoff with 6 from each side, man.
I'm putting the Mariners in mine. I'll have 3 from the West.
Yeah, and I'm going to put the Angels. So I will have we're gonna have the same teams. I just have a different order. From the NL, who does that mean gets in now though? Because is it 3 from the East? Yeah.
Phillies, Mets,
I
Braves.
I think it comes down to either the Mets or Giants, and I feel better about the Mets by a little bit.
Listen, people can sing their song and dance about the Giants all they want to. They're not doing anything.
The Giants, though, to me are like almost like the Steelers or Ravens of the MLB. Like, despite what their roster looks like, they're gonna be competitive. Like they somehow always find a way to be above 500.
Yeah, but it's an odd number year, so they're not going to do anything.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, never mind. We're 2024.
Yeah, that's when they're going to go.
All right, but now to do some award stuff, we will start in the AL. And we'll start with Rookie of the Year. Who's your AL Rookie of the Year?
Anthony Volpe.
Shocker.
I know it's a homer pick. I'm not denying that it is, but this kid is going to be special. I don't think that it's impossible for him to ever live up to Jeter because Jeter is who he is.
Yeah.
But I think that we're going to be seeing Anthony Volpe play at a high level for probably the next 8 or so years. And he has a lot of it's very weird how similar he is with Jeter's story. It's a kid from New Jersey getting called up. Like it's just so cool. And I think that in his own mind he has something to prove because he didn't think he was going to get called up this year. I didn't think he was going to get called up to start.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I also am like I was trying to think of like other American League rookies because I actually think the National League, the Rookie of the Year race is going to be a lot closer than the AL. I mean, Riley Green might make some noise, but
yeah,
I don't know who else in the AL has the firepower that Volpe does.
Gunner. That's
he's
my
on
pick.
but he's on a bad team. And I know that because listen, I'm the first person to say that shouldn't matter, but if the Yankees have a year like they did last year and Volpe plays even above average, like if Gunner plays a little bit better than Volpe, but the Orioles aren't in the playoffs, the voters are just going to say that Volpe was the reason why like the Yankees kicked it up a notch. Yeah. But I love Gunner. I think Gunner is awesome.
I think now I'm not saying this is how the voters would look at it, but my counterpoint to that would be I think that Gunner has to do more because of playing on a bad team. Like he's going to have more weight on his shoulders because Volpe can struggle in that lineup and probably be hidden. If Gunner struggles, it's going to be very noticeable.
True. Yeah. I mean, it's man. Yeah. I mean, I'm still picking Volpe, but
yeah,
I do.
I think that's a good pick too. Like I told you, I almost switched literally because I saw a video on Twitter.
Did you see the video of him getting like talk to Aaron Boone?
Yeah, that's the video I saw.
Man, it was awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Side note: would you be mad if you were a player and they did that to you? Because I was thinking about it, and I understand that it's like it's just all fun and games. But you know how pissed off I'd be if I was like, dude. Like, I really thought you were sending me down.
I don't think your mind is probably on anything else, at least in the moment. But like in hindsight, thinking about it, you're probably like, why did they do that to me?
Yeah.
Like,
I think next year is when we start seeing Jason Dominguez.
Oh man.
Good luck, MLB. I'm like, I don't think that I think it's almost impossible to be the next Mike Trout But for anybody to be calling Jason Dominguez the next Mike Trout is insane.
Yeah, that's putting so much on him too, like to try to live up to that.
I mean, his nickname is the Martian, so that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. AL Cy Young. Oh, but Gunnar, like I said when you were talking, is my pick. Gunnar Henderson of the Orioles. AL Cy Young. I'll start this time. I mentioned earlier how, to me, there was only one clear-cut team from the AL Central, and that's the Guardians. Now, everybody, when you look at that rotation, is going to talk about Bieber. I think this guy takes a huge leap this year. I think he's going to lead the league in Ks per 9. Tristan McKenzie's my pick to win the AL Cy Young.
That is a great pick. I am picking Shohei. Okay. I think this is finally the year that they give that, not they give it to him, but he has like deserved it the past couple of years. And I think that this is because you want to talk about someone being scary. Shohei in a contract year.
Yeah.
Imagine what that's going to look like. Because now he can be like, hey, the bidding starts at $500 million, and I'm going to show you why.
Yeah, it might be $600 million if he wins some more hardware. So hard to go wrong with that pick, but I'm curious to see how much it differentiates then for MVP, because if he has a season like that, plus what he's going to do at the plate. But my AL MVP, I think what it comes down to is as you go through the teams and pick your playoff teams, at least for me, now I'm not saying like, voters look at this or anything. What I look at is like a team that it's like, okay, if they're there, how did they get there? There's probably a guy or two carrying the torch of that team, because most likely that's the case, especially when you talk about a team like the Seattle Mariners. If they get to the playoffs, how are they going to get to the playoffs? It's because a guy like Julio Rodriguez is going to lead them there. He's my pick for the AL MVP.
But do you think he can? I need to look something up real quick because, sorry, this is bad.
You're good. I'm curious as to what you're looking up. It's got to be something in terms of like filling up the box score. Like, is he going to do enough of one thing?
He had a 6 WAR last year.
Oh
my goodness! Wait, I don't want spring training. What the heck? This is where I was going to ask.
Yes.
Do you think he could hit above 300? Because if he can hit for 300, plus have 30 home runs, plus probably have 30 stolen bases, then I agree with you. But I think it's Shohei. Again, that's what I was telling you. That it's like a bold thing for someone to win both. But
it's all, I think it's equally as bold to pick anybody else, though. Like that's the thing, is like that's how good he is. When you look at like all of Julio's projections for this year, you said he was a 6 WAR player last year. I think they got him projected for like 5.9 this year. Yeah, that would put him behind, like last year, what Soto was like 7.1 or something. Judge had 6.9 last year with like 62 home runs. I mean, he's also projected by Steamer 32 home runs, 25 stolen bases. So there's only 4 players projected to have 20 or 25 seasons. That's him, Acuna, Bobby Witt Jr., and Jazz Chisholm. They got
really?
Yeah, a 142 WRC plus, which would be, a top 10 hitter. They have his WAR projected higher than Trout at 5.6. I mean, all his projections going into the season are very high. Yeah. I don't know. I think based off looking at all his projections in terms of where they think this guy's going to be in 2023, Seattle doing a little bit to help him as well, but also like where that team is, if they get back to the postseason, I think it's going to be on his shoulders. And I think that, you look around, you look at them getting there last year and doing it again this year, like he's obviously the biggest reason why. So I don't know how, you deny him of something like that if he has that type of season and they're back in the playoffs.
See, that's my argument for Shohei, though, is why I chose Shohei for both.
Yeah.
Because if they do make it, then they can be like, well, look at Trout. You know, he won MVP and all this stuff. But if they finally make it, and let's say they win a playoff,
do those two kind of take away from each other, though, enough that somebody else wins it?
So I know it's like a boring pick too, but I think that the problem is going to be those two go at it, and then Mike Trout just kind of sneaks in and gets it. Or I could see like Jordan.
But are they going to give it to a guy that only hits?
They shouldn't, but if it's kind of like one of those things where it's like if the vote is split enough.
Yeah. No, I hear you. It'll be interesting to see. Okay. NL Rookie of the Year. We kind of touched on the Cardinals and the teams being more willing to bring up guys 20, 21 years old, don't have a ton of experience in the AAA level. I got Jordan Walker, the Cardinals, as my NL Rookie of the Year. I think this guy's going to terrorize Pirate fans for a long time. I'm a huge fan of his game, and I mean, obviously great for him that the Cardinals are kind of just giving him this already. I think a lot of people were surprised that he made their MLB club, especially with the talent that's on that roster right now. Like, they certainly don't need him. This is like very much them rewarding him for what he's done. But Jordan Walker, I think, is going to be a great player. And in that lineup where, so much protection throughout it up and down, I think he's in a prime position to like light it up right away.
I also think that's their version of going for it this year. Is they were like, we're not going to waste his time anymore. We need it. We already have enough in our lineup. And I think they said like that was their version. Like, all right, we're in. We're going to do this. I have Corbin Carroll.
Yeah, that was the other guy I thought of. So
because I think he could have a similar year as J-Rod last year.
Okay.
I mean the speeds. He is a player who can turn any hit into a double, and any double into a triple. Like if he can hit for a little, even like 20 homers, like he doesn't need to be all that, because I don't think 20 is all. I mean, it's decent, but if you pair 20 homers with a guy who can hit above 300, who has the speed that he has, I mean he's going to steal probably 40 to 50. So I think it's Corbin Carroll. I actually had Jordan Walker on here, but I'm picking Carroll.
I will say that for me, like I'll go on record saying this right now, if it's even close in terms of their numbers, me personally, without even watching the season play out, just say their numbers end up being similar, I would pick Corbin Carroll. And the reason being, like we keep talking about, I keep throwing these words together out there, the lineup protection. If Corbin Carroll was able to have a similar season in Arizona with the rest of that lineup compared to Jordan Walker, when you have guys like Goldschmidt and Arenado hitting around him, I think, like for me at least, I would lean giving it to Corbin Carroll in that spot.
Do voters think that way though, or
I don't know? That's what I'm saying. Just for me,
yeah. I wish that they would think like that. Like I wish that they would take everything into consideration. I mean, I definitely think like last year, I think Judge deserved it, but
yeah,
at the same time, it's like Ohtani was a top 3 pitcher and a top 2 batter. Like it's so funny because the Angels keep getting guys who are always in the MVP conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I think Oneil Cruz might sneak his way and surprise some people, because I really think that he takes a big leap this year.
Yeah, he should be a ton of fun to watch, one way or another. Like it's, even if pray to God it doesn't go south, like it's still just going to be crazy to watch him doing what he does.
Over or under how many 100 miles per hour hits Oneil Cruz has this year?
I don't even know what number to say, just because like he was getting like one every 3 games, it seemed like last year. So if you're getting one a series,
do you think he has more 100 miles per hour throws or hits?
Hits.
Good luck, G-Man Choi.
Yeah, he's gonna break his hand. Moving along to the NL Cy Young. You mentioned my guy already. When we were doing previews of teams, and we got to the NL East, we were talking about the Braves. I'm going Spencer Strider, who I think has some of the nastiest stuff in baseball. I think, you look at that team and the talk is like up until last season, at least, it was about Max Fried and some of the other guys in that rotation. Like Spencer Strider kind of lit it up last year. And then really made his name in the postseason. But yeah, I really like Spencer Strider's stuff. And I think I could for 3 straight years, I was picking Jack Flaherty to finally it was his year. I'm on Spencer Strider now.
I think, and this is not meant to be a dig. I think that Spencer Strider is too boring sometimes for his own good. Like he doesn't have a 5-pitch mix. He's kind of just like, hey, I can pitch really well. I'm going to put it where I want to. Good luck with it.
Mm-hmm.
I have Corbin Burns. Because I think
what if he gets traded?
This is if he doesn't get traded.
Okay.
If he doesn't get traded, I think it's Corbin Burns. Because I think that this is his FU tour to Milwaukee. He's like, oh, you don't want to pay me? Okay, here we go. And again, as a Pirates fan, that is a scary world to live in because he's already really good.
Yeah, so my rookie of the year and your Cy Young are both coming in the same division as the Pirates.
Sweet.
And then my MVP is coming from the same state, just not the team. I got Trey Turner of the Phillies as my NL MVP. That would have already been spoiled for you if you guys follow me on Twitter, because I actually put $10 on him to win the NL MVP based off his performance at the World Baseball Classic. I just think he's in a prime position to do it. He plays the most important position at shortstop. Great player, 5-tool guy. Going to steal a ton of bags. He's got enough pop. He's going to hit the top of that lineup with a ton of guys, behind him to bring him into. I think he's going to score a ton of. He might break the record this year for most runs scored. I really like this Phillies team, and I'm going to talk about them even a little bit more in a little bit. But yeah, Trey Turner is my NL MVP pick.
Same.
Plus 11. Was it 1100 right now? Yeah, plus 1100 on FanDuel when I got.
Yeah, super boring, but I have that as well, and I kind of feel bad for Drew because that probably means it's not going to happen.
Yeah, if we both got it. Maybe it negates, though. It's like, okay, if I just said it wasn't going to happen, but now, because you're saying it goes back against it.
Dude, he's just he's the most fun player to watch in baseball that people don't talk about. Yeah. Javi gets more spotlight than Trey Turner does. The only time you see Trey Turner highlights is in the World Baseball Classic or if it's another slide that he did. It looks cool.
Yeah.
And I feel like he's not talked about. I don't think the Phillies were leaving. They weren't going. Same how the Yankees said they weren't going to be outbid for Judge. The Phillies were not going to be outbid for Trey Turner. I think that confidently. I think that he was a Philly as soon as the season ended. Especially with Hoskins going down, that's good. I mean, that obviously has to suck. But what are they doing at first base? By the way.
I don't know. I hope for them it's not Bryce. I saw he's taking ground balls there, but
oh no.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is for them. That is definitely a storyline to watch, though, too. I think the rest of that lineup is going to be able to make up for it from an offensive perspective. But yeah, I don't know what they do defensively in terms of who's going to play first base.
Yep.
Where do we want to go next? I mentioned we wanted to give do you have off the top of your head who you think it can be a comeback player this year in the MLB? This isn't for each league either. Just one comeback player. Yeah.
I was gonna say Chris Sale, but that's pretty.
Oh, I almost thought you were just say it when you started to talk there. I'm going Chris Bryant because only played 42 games last year. I think when you talk about just a hitter friendly ballpark at Coors, weird that he's playing for the Rockies, by the way, still to me. But I think that's a great ballpark for him to get his swing right. I'm still a believer that Chris Bryant's a pretty good ball player. Yeah, I think popular pitch, I don't even know if you consider it a comeback because it's not an injury, but I think Tatis was listed as a popular comeback player. Yeah, Rendon. You mentioned Chris Sale, Anthony Rendon,
I really maybe I'm being a blind follower of his, and I might have, but I just think that this is the year for him.
Yeah,
I think that he has to eventually prove that contract was worth it, and there's no better time than than not because like they know they're probably parting ways with Shohei unless they can somehow get the money that the other teams are going to give him. Like Rendon has to know like this has to be the year.
Yeah, I agree. A breakout player. Now this is funny because like everybody that I've listed for awards, or not everybody, but most of the guys like really haven't broken out yet. So you could say that I could put them in this category too. My breakout player is going to be a guy that I feel like is starting to become a household name, but following this trade, sending him to where he did, I really think that's going to happen. That's Dalton Varsho. I'm interested to see like how the Blue Jays use him from a defensive perspective. But I think when you talk about, I'm going to say it again, the line of protection that's in Toronto, everybody that's hitting throughout that lineup, like he's going to be able to see premium pitches that he didn't get to see in Arizona because you can't, like, you're not putting guys on base. You can't walk him to get to the next guy because the next guy is going to be Vlad Jr. or something like that. Like, just ridiculous 1 through 8 in that lineup. So the defensive versatility, what he provides offensively in that lineup, I just think that, like, by the end of the season, we're talking about this guy as somebody that, like, really broke out this season. And it's why, to me, I think the Diamondbacks should have hung on to him. But
my pick might surprise you. Keep Brian Hayes.
Wow. Okay.
I think this is finally the year. I think this is finally the year that he wins a Gold Glove. I think this is finally the year that the media realizes how actually special this kid can be. Because if he's putting elevation on the ball, that means that he can finally be the hitter that we need him to be. He doesn't even need to be an outstanding hitter.
Yeah.
But if he can hit for like 25, maybe 20, and like maybe like 380, have an OPS at like 800, 850, I really think that Brian Hayes could break out this year. And I think I think his breakout is going to also help Oneil Cruz's breakout year.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about like the floor of guys in the MLB, he probably because of what he brings defensively has to have amongst the safest floors as a player. But like we still don't know what that ceiling is just because you keep waiting for the bat. And I think like health has been a part of that too. But yeah, I mean, to your point, if he goes out there, hits in that 280 range, hits 20, 25 bombs, like I think that I mean, I would love to see it, and I can definitely get on board with the possibility that it happens. It's the key's going to be health. I didn't even like mean to say key there, but the key for key is going to be health.
But yeah, that's my pick.
And then finally, what we will do is a World Series prediction. This might surprise you. I got one of the two teams that played last year getting back to the World Series. However, I hope Drew Hannes is listening. I got the Phillies defeating the Guardians in the World Series.
The Guardians?
Yes.
Wow.
Yep. Because here's my thing. There is, to me, a lack of a second team in the AL Central, meaning that I'm not saying that like they can take it easy, but I think the other teams are going to be basically going to war ahead of the playoffs already. I almost said Indians there. Geez. Guardians are going to be in the best spot by the time that the playoffs roll around.
Wow.
So that's why.
I mean, I get. Man, that's not that crazy of a pick though, because they went to the World Series with Shane Bieber and Coy Kluber.
Yep.
Like that's wow. I'm not going to wish ill upon somebody, but I hope that Josh Naylor steps in gum on his way to the ballpark every day.
Yeah.
I have a rematch of 2009.
Ooh.
Yankees, baby.
With who winning?
Sorry, you cut out. Where'd you go? Where are you there yet?
Can you hear me?
Okay, sorry, you cut out for a second.
Oh, it's weird because I was literally just listening and watching you.
This is also. You cut out again. Okay, so but I have a rematch of the 2009, and I have the. I don't want to say it. I have the Phillies winning.
Oh man, well Drew's gonna love this. But
I know, but my idea would switch if I could think that the Yankees pitching staff could stay healthy.
Yeah,
I think that I think it's good enough to get them into the playoffs. But it's if Carlos Rodon is out for a while, that's going to diminish it. I mean, if the Yankees can get him back by like September, then I think that I'll be confident. But I have a rematch of the 2009, but I have it the opposite way happening.
So the Phillies are winning the World Series in both of our predictions.
That sucks.
But
man. I think it's somehow, I don't know. Don't ask me the logistics about this. I think that it is going to be Phillies Braves somehow in the NLCS.
Okay.
And I think that goes 7, and that's going to be a very fun NLCS. Well, you know what's going to happen though? Tatis is going to come back and he's going to hit 35 bombs somehow, and they're going to win the World Series. We're both going to look like idiots.
I mean, us looking like idiots is very possible for sure.
It's true.
But if you made it the entire hour and a half through this, we can't thank you enough for watching. A lot of fun discussion here. It'll be interesting to see how things play out. And I can't wait to revisit it as the season goes on. And then for sure at the end of the year, just to see if any of these predictions at all were right. Because if they are, I am going to throw them in people's faces. And if they're wrong, we won't talk about it.
Amen.
That's
we
the way
should
it goes.
we should somehow parlay all of like the NL MVP and stuff with like Cy Young. I mean, I can't figure out the sports betting thing. But you should see what it is to get like all your. I mean, you'd probably get absurd odds if you parlay.
Yeah, I believe so. Definitely. Yeah, I'm gonna look into it actually right after this. But anyways, if you are new, be sure to subscribe, hit that like, hit that notification bell, and of course, comment down below how you feel. Let us see your predictions in the comments for sure, and I'll be interacting in the comments too. If you are a return visitor, thank you for watching another video, and be sure that you're subscribed. As always, like the video. As always, make sure you hit that notification bell. And also, comment down below what your predictions are. I'm gonna say subscribe again because that's where my mind is. Subscribe to the channel now. Stop what you're doing. Subscribe to the channel. But Sarge, thanks for joining me, and can't wait to see how this plays out.
Thanks for having me.
All right, man. All
right.
For Sarge, for Smitty, I'll talk to you next time. Bye.
Goodbye.